Hey everyone, Dionne Jennings here, Community Herbalist and Marketing and Outreach Coordinator with Wild Rose College. How are you all? I wanted to pop on and record another installment of Dionne's Bookshelf. I have been a little bit remiss in recording lately just due to all of the world craziness, but I wanted to make a point to come on and share a book with you in honor of National Indigenous History Month here in Canada. So I wanted to feature, I guess the goal, I suppose, first of all, I should back up and say with Dionne's Bookshelf is to share some of my favorite herbals, plant books with you. They don't have to be all necessarily like herb books. Many of them are, but I also appreciate botany and systems thinking, and I have a wide range of things that I love. However, I thought this one would be especially appropriate to share today. Those of you that know it are not going to be surprised, but I wanted to feature an Indigenous author related to plants in the natural world. So I chose the book Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, botanist and Anishinaabe. Those of you that know this book, that have read it, you know, you can stop right there. You know what I'm going to say, but maybe you don't. But you know why I'm recommending it. And so this book was published 6 or 7 years ago originally. I read it at that time. I borrowed it from a friend. I took it out from the library again. I think I requested it from the library another time until finally I was like, Dionne, what are you doing? Like, give this woman your money. Like, this book is it's worth every penny. There's no need to save paper in this instance. Of course, there's always a good reason to save paper, but this book is it's beautiful and it's worth sharing. And so I think a lot of other people are waking up to that fact as well, because earlier this year it made it onto the New York Times bestseller list, I think, much to the surprise of the author and the publisher, to my understanding. And it's for this very reason, where you read it once, you'll read it again, and you'll read it again, and you'll recommend it to everyone you know, and they'll read it and they'll recommend to someone they know, and on it goes. So before I get any further, I want to acknowledge that I am coming to you today from Treaty 1 territory, and the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Cree, the Oji-Cree, the Dakota, the Dene people, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. Let me read to you the last chapter of the preface in Robin's own words. I could hand you a braid of sweetgrass, as thick and shining as the plait that hung down my grandmother's back. But it is not mine to give, nor yours to take. Wingashk belongs to herself. So I offer in its place a braid of stories meant to heal our relationship with the world. This braid is woven from 3 strands: Indigenous ways of knowing, scientific knowledge, and the story of an Anishinaabe scientist trying to bring them together in service to what matters most. It is an intertwining of science, spirit, and story, old stories and new ones that can be medicine for our broken relationship with Earth, a pharmacopoeia of healing stories that allow us to imagine a different relationship in which people and land are good medicine for each other. So I don't want to give too much away, but you get a sense of the beauty that's contained within this book. Robin has a beautiful and gentle way of thinking and sharing and teaching, and she's a wonderful storyteller. She starts, and I also want to say that I am not speaking on behalf of Robin Wall Kimmerer. I do not want to speak on behalf of any Indigenous teachings that are not mine to speak of. I simply want to point your way to this beautiful, beautiful book. So Robin starts off with the creation story, Sky Woman, and the creation of Turtle Island. She speaks of the honorable harvest. She speaks of how she was, you know, in love with plants, and when she went to apply at the university to study botany, and she said, I want to know why the purple asters and the yellow goldenrod are so beautiful together in the field. And her professor, white male professor, kind of looked down on her like, if that's what you think botany is, you know, like maybe you're in the wrong place or the wrong program. And it just speaks to that opposition of science and linear thought and evidence base and opposite to that heartfelt sense and intuition and nonlinear thinking and creativity. And Robin speaks a lot on that in terms of where Indigenous teachings and science come together, how they're opposed and how they can work together and enhance one another. And I think that speaks overall as well to, sort of what's in my own personal opinion from how I see things at this moment in time in 2020, where we're called to look at the things that are out of balance. And many of that is starting with our relationship with the natural world. And that, in fact, the dominant society has perhaps put these things up on a pedestal to the detriment of the natural world and our relationship with the natural world. So the reason why I want to recommend this, there's many, many reasons, I can't distill it down to one thing or one takeaway, is that it's so important for us at this time to sort of step back and look at what it is that we want to focus on and how we can contribute to sort of the bigger balance. And I noticed that there's a lot of longing to revisit the natural world, and that's whether that's planting a garden to have food sovereignty, whether you're concerned about your local medicine and planting herb gardens, whether that's a concern about why it is why we have these conditions present that allow this novel virus to hop from animals to humans in a way that it never has before. And why we have these conditions where there's many, many cultural traditions and lineages that are not honored and respected and are repressed. Why we have all of these systemic inequalities for many people of different races. There's a lot of ways 2020 is showing us what is out of balance. And I believe asking us how we can contribute to restoring the balance to the best of our ability. So I encourage you to go check out this book. Run, don't walk. If you don't have time to read, find it on Audible or on audiobook and give it a listen. You'll read it once, you'll read it twice. And for those of you that have already read it and enjoyed it or are familiar with her teachings, I welcome your comments on her book as well. Okay, thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. We'll come to you again with another book recommendation for plants and people. Ciao.